Welcome to In Focus. I'm your host, Yesenia Taveras. NEWS4Women is an organization that's bringing women together to exchange ideas, build friendships, and business connections, all while improving our communities. Joining us now is the Chief Visionary Officer, Carol Arnott-Robbins. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us. I really believe this is a unique organization doing wonderful things here. Let's start off a little bit about you and why you saw the need to create this organization.
Well, the organization was started about 10 years ago, and I at the time had been president of another women's organization, and it was the National Association of Women Business Owners, the Delaware chapter, and there were a number of other different women's organizations, and they were all, there's some overlap in some of them, and it was October of 2007 actually, and each of these different organizations was planning a holiday event. And I looked at this as an opportunity to collaborate rather than potentially compete in the same space, to have my organization have a holiday event and then another one on the same day, another one on the same day. And so I got together with 4 other leaders of these other women's organizations and suggested that we actually do a collaborative event, which really had never been done before. And I think maybe there was a little bit of that, well, why would I want to bring my members together with your members? I've always been a big believer in it's a great big sandbox and we can all play together. And what came out of that is we thought there wasn't enough time to plan an effective event of that size, that magnitude, between October and December. So March is Women's History Month. So we planned it for March, called it Women in Partnership, and we had 195 women come to that.
Wow.
The energy was amazing.
I could imagine.
And there were so many women who were saying, well, this is so great, when's the next one? And at that point I said, yeah, there's an opportunity here to bring women together. So regardless of whether you're a business owner, a professional woman, a stay-at-home mom, a retiree, we all have something to contribute and to share with one another to make a better community.
And I like the message that you spoke on in regards to unity, because as women, sometimes in the working force too, you can see that competition, you can see that bullying, or it can also be an age factor. She's older, I'm younger, how can I maneuver my way or my path or my journey in here? But your organization is really speaking into unity and having everyone come together and really about woman empowerment. I really like that.
Right. Well, we like to say we put the unity back in community too. We're a big believer there. Yeah.
And that's great. That's what's really needed in not only our communities, but all throughout the state.
Yeah.
And so what are some of the things you learned, not only having gone through those experiences with the other organizations, but with your organization too? What are some of the things that you've learned?
Well, what I've learned is that everybody has something to contribute. And when we bring women together, and the occasional brave man, I will say this is, even though our events are for women, they are absolutely open to all, and we in fact encourage men to come and attend. And the reality is men want to do business with women, right? And women are the chief decision makers, oftentimes, certainly in the home, purchasing decisions, oftentimes in a business environment. So we want to bring people together to share ideas, to help one another, to perhaps facilitate introductions. If I know that you could benefit from meeting this person, I will put the two of you together and then let you take it from there.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
That's very powerful. And let's get into, like, what does it look like in regards to building these friendships and these connections? How do you make that transpire?
Well, sometimes it's one-on-one, but when I host an event, oftentimes I know a lot of the women who are coming because maybe they've been coming for years. And so as I'm talking to somebody, my brain is always thinking, who should know this person or who should know this organization? And then I can, maybe it's just a virtual intro. Maybe it's a, hey, Mary, I'd like to introduce you to Sally. Here's a virtual intro. I think you would benefit by whatever, and whatever the reason is, I think that they should know each other. So.
Okay, and what are some of the other things that the organization is doing in regards to not only events, but like making an impact in our community? Can you explain like what that looks like?
There are a couple of things, and some are more community focused. Some of the things that I'm doing and have done have to do with more corporate entities. I think there's a huge opportunity, a huge untapped opportunity for corporations in our community and beyond to really help their female employees, and not necessarily just leadership, because that's leadership sort of a buzzword that you hear a lot.
Okay.
Not everyone wants to be a leader, right? There are some women who are natural leaders and they do aspire to leadership within their organization. But there are a lot of other women who simply want a career progression. And so some of the things that we have been doing, and I'd like to do more of, quite frankly, is to work with companies, particularly around their employee resource groups or associate resource groups, to bring some skill development into those companies to help them understand how to attract, engage, and retain a workforce.
Okay.
And again, there's another buzzword about work-life balance, and I think we could toss the balance out and let's just call it work-life integration. And how is it that as women who are often very busy and carrying a lot of the load at home as well as being employed, like how is it that we can integrate our personal lives into our professional lives? So there's a lot of work to be done in that particular space, a lot of opportunity with companies in this area, and we'd love to bring some skill development there.
And yes, and when you say companies too, it's not just major corporations, it's also nonprofits as well.
Absolutely,
Okay.
Absolutely.
And with that, have you or the organization ever tackled, like I know when it comes to advancing your career, especially from a young age, right out of college to adulthood, like becoming a mom and doing the things that, you know, being, like they say now, adulting, right? Doing the things you need to do to survive sufficiently, but also as a successful person, you can run into problems at the workplace. So rather it be equality, rather it be harassment, Me Too movement, like how have you been able to tackle those different topics? Or is this something that the women have been talking about at these events?
I think there's always conversation about it, and I think that there's more opportunity to bring some more conversation around that. Bringing panel discussions, for example, of women who represent different either expertise. It's usually expertise. So, for example, I read something as recently as this morning that there's Company X, not a local company, but Company X aspires to have, I think it was like 30% of their workforce, their leadership, in female leadership by whatever. That can so easily backfire. And I've had conversations with women who've been employed in these companies where their company said, okay, by such and such, by 2000 and pick a date, we're going to have 25% of our leadership female. But what happens there, or can happen there, is that women don't necessarily want to raise their hands for those opportunities now because they feel as though somebody just has to check a box, right?
Right.
So we need 25%. So let's choose Joan and let's choose Debbie and Susie, and then we will have filled our requirement. And that has absolutely backfired with companies because they found if they haven't changed the culture, which starts at the top, women could get into these positions of leadership and find that it's not a friendly environment for them, and then they leave. So that's a huge opportunity there, is to help companies understand it's not about just checking a box or the whole Me Too movement. It's really about creating a culture that is gender diverse, that is racially diverse, that is really warm and welcoming for all individuals to help, to be employed there.
That's right, because, times have changed now, and I believe more now than ever, we are kind of really treating people equally in regards to like the transgender and the
we're talking
but
about
it's not
we're talking about it. I'm not sure we're doing it necessarily. Yeah.
So that leads me to your event that's coming up on September 25th.
Yeah.
And it's really giving a platform, a talking point to have these discussions about equality and women of all kinds of women, not only diversity, ethnicity, but also if you're gay, lesbian, or transgender, even gender identity. I mean, that's a lot. It starts when they're young.
Right.
So can you tell us a little bit about this event and how it's providing that platform for people here in the community?
Yeah, I'm very excited about this. So Sarah McBride, who's with, she's done a lot of things, I should say, but she is a transgender individual. She grew up here in Wilmington. Her family's still here in Wilmington. She spoke at the Democratic National Convention, and she's written a book recently, which is a wonderful book, Grab Your Tissues. And she and her mother, Sally, are going to have a conversation. We're going to have a conversation. And Sarah has been talking a lot recently about her book, and she's speaking to a lot of organizations. But what I really wanted to do was something a little bit different, and was to really bring her family into the conversation. So she's going to talk, Sarah and Sally will talk about their experiences, and Sarah growing up and realizing at a very early age that she was transgender, and how her family accepted that, and about some of the work that she is doing in the workplace, locally and certainly nationally, to get the word out about individuals who are transgender, or whoever they may be, and to make sure that there's opportunity for equality.
And I believe the format that you just shared with us is a very needed one, because there are two battles. There's the person who's going through the journey, who wants to let people know. But then, like you said, the family also is going through something, because now you're dealing with society standards and what your family should look like. And if you have someone or a child who might be one of these categories, it's like, ooh. And it's like trying to tackle, how do you do that with the family and the person? And I'm sorry to say, but not all families are really embracing of that change.
Very true.
And this will allow them to come together at the table and meet these two people who've actually gone through those journeys.
Right. And they are a wonderful family. And that event, as all of our events, support nonprofit organizations. And so with this particular event, I made that choice available to Sarah, and she chose the Delaware Center for Justice. Okay. So proceeds from this event will go to the Delaware Center for Justice here in Wilmington.
That's wonderful. And how can someone attend? Is there a fee? Do they just...
There is a fee. They can go to our website, news4women.org. So that's NEWS, the number 4women.org. Okay. And we have a collaborative calendar on the website, which promotes a lot of different women-centric events. So whether they're hosted by News4Women or other local organizations, that we will post that, so that women who want to find out what's happening, maybe business events, networking events, other events, they can go to the calendar and see. So it is on the calendar. It is September 25th at the Delaware Center. I always want to say Delaware Center for Contemporary Arts. They changed their name, so the Delaware Contemporary, yeah.
Okay, and it's right here close to home. And it's wonderful to have her back here as a Wilmingtonian as well. Yeah. And I think this is wonderful that you came up with the idea to really, like I said, provide that platform for these people in this community, because sometimes all they have is just each other. Right? But here you're letting everyone know, especially like you said, at a young age, because that's where it needs to start, at a very young age, embracing these individuals and showing them that you can still live life.
It's a pathway to change,
It definitely is, because I can only imagine all the other things you have to go through as a child, like with the bullying, and it could be for anything, having nice hair or not having nice hair, or your complexion and things of that nature. Now you're adding a whole nother component to that.
Yeah.
That's good.
Well, I'd love to talk about some of our other events too that aren't quite as structured, because we do something called Wine for Women.
I saw that.
Wine for Women, as the name suggests. There is some wine involved, but our motto is we sip to support. It's always for a good cause, and it's always a good time, because as I said, all of our events support different nonprofit organizations. So they focus on locally owned businesses, and then each one, as we sip to support, each one will support a different nonprofit. So
what does that look like? Do you host any events at a different restaurant here in Delaware? Like, what's that look like?
Yeah, it's a networking event. They're during the weeknight, evening, 5:30 to 7:30. The dates vary, but they're all on the calendar. Okay. And so coming up September 17th, we will be at Kid Shalene's, right here in the Trolley area. We will sip to support Plastic Free Delaware.
Okay.
And then in October, we will be at the Mexican Gastropub right down on the riverfront, Del Pez, and we will sip to support St. Michael's School and Nursery, which is right here in Wilmington. It's on North Walnut Street. It's one of the oldest day school, nursery schools in the entire country. So we will sip to support them in October. That's October 15th. 15th, I think, but it's on the calendar.
That's wonderful. And how did the idea come about for this type of event? And if there's an organization that's actually watching now and would like to be a recipient of the proceeds or actually host the event, how can that happen?
They reach out to me. Pretty much our contact is right there on the website, and they can just send me an email or give me a jingle, and we're happy to talk about that. There's a lot of opportunity. We have a lot of nonprofits, particularly some of the smaller ones that aren't as well known. And I mean, we've supported a lot of the bigger names too that you'd probably be very familiar with, and we're working with Meals on Wheels for November. But sometimes it's those small kind of offbeat ones that really need the community support. They don't have a lot of budgets, they don't have staff. I have a couple people from the organization who come. They take a couple minutes to tell us about the organization, what they're doing, how they do it, how we can help. Obviously, they're always looking for funding, but there are opportunities to volunteer time as well. So we share those ideas. Yeah.
And lastly, before we go, if someone is interested in being a part of News4Women, is there a fee to sign up, or can they?
No, we're actually not a traditional member organization. We were when I first launched it in 2008, and then it evolved. And we are now, we've got about almost 700 subscribers. People who subscribe to our events and attend events periodically, but there's a contact, a sign up there right on the website as well. And certainly anytime you register for an event, you have the ability to sign up and say, yes, I want to hear more about News4Women events.
Wonderful. Yeah. I'm so glad we had this time to discuss this. Is there any other events coming up that you wanted to share with us before we go, like the future of News4Women, or what to look forward to in 2019?
Well, I'll give you a little sneak peek for Women's History Month in March. I'm partnering with an organization to showcase some pretty spectacular women. It will be a breakfast event. I'm only going to give you a little teaser on that one, but women who are in non-traditional roles, who have excelled in those non-traditional roles. And but Wine for Women is almost every month, so there's a lot of that opportunity, and people should come and get to know other women and learn what's going on in the community and how they can be part of it. We'd love to have them.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Carol. Really appreciate you joining us today.
I'm happy to be here. Thanks so much.
Yes, you're welcome. I'm Yesenia Taveras. Thank you so much for watching.